The best bits of Joy Drive with Em and Warren. No matter where you are, you can always take Em and Warren with you. Theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive with Em and Warren.
Good afternoon, Suzy.
Good afternoon, lovely to be with you.
It's good to have you. We're talking about the Melbourne Queer Film Festival today, and of course we are giving away a double pass. We've had lots of really good entries, but we watched a film called Wandering Heart.
Wandering Heart, or Errante Corazon, is an Argentinian film screening later this week at the Melbourne Queer Film Festival on the 12th and 15th of November. It is a story about Santiago, a 50-year-old restaurant manager who lives a life of debauchery after hours, but who seems never to be able to find peace or happiness. His 17-year-old daughter is finishing up at school and knows instinctively that she needs to get away from her father if she wishes to find herself. Santiago may be a middle-aged man, but he has no hang-ups about his gayness. He enjoys sex parties and intrepid hookups on the beach. Everyone knows he's gay, including his elderly mother, but an existential angst hangs over him tenaciously. We see hints that it may be a psychological disorder that is responsible for his troubles, but the film doesn't provide a clear and convenient diagnosis. We have to stick closely to Santiago's misadventures before we can figure him out. Or perhaps the point is that there's nothing to figure out. Maybe it is just to come to terms with things as they are, an acceptance of the challenges of becoming older. Nobody ever said life is a bed of roses. Wandering Heart is very sophisticated, very mature filmmaking, written and directed by Leonardo Berzacchi and starring the incredible actor Leonardo Sbaraglia. The protagonist and I are roughly the same age, and I found myself surprised by how I gradually was able to identify with the way he feels about life, even though the things we experience are completely different. Maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's simply a human thing. Santiago is a hot mess, and even though what he goes through looks a bit terrifying, it just looks so completely authentic, so wonderfully honest. I love that queer festivals continue to expose us to challenging films made by and about people of our community that we would most likely never encounter otherwise. Em and Warren, what do you think is Santiago's problem?
Oh, goodness. I don't know how to answer that. But I agree with the sentiments about, I guess self-exploration and kind of like finding yourself, and then also realizing, life isn't all just, the monologue that the daughter does at the dinner table towards the end of the film, where she's kind of like, everyone's pretending to be perfect, but like, you're not perfect. Like, you need to realize that, not everything's perfect. I was like, yeah, I can totally relate to that. Like, I think that is, a lot of people do that. They kind of waltz around life just pretending everything's fine. Sometimes you're not fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Say fine one more time.
The second time I watched it, I thought, right. So the problem with this film, there's no problem with the film. I think it's a great film. The problem with me watching is that I'm so used to that Hollywood style and rhythm, and sort of things being, everything tied up properly in a ribbon, with a ribbon in a knot. But this film is kind of really honest in that life is challenging and you just kind of keep going as much as you can. There is no easy solution anywhere. And it's funny that something so basic that everyone experiences is unusual when you put it into a film.
But how good was the actor? Is it Leonardo Sbaraglia? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
He was so good. I mean, what a train wreck of a character. Honestly, it was, and he just did such a good job. I mean, really convinced me that his life was spiraling out of control. I thought it was great. And for me though, it's not really clear, is it, why it's spiraling out of control. And I was just wondering whether it's more about him seeking, that void, trying to fill that void of love that I guess many of us, particularly, gay men grow up with, without that love, and we try and fill it. And we fill it with, sex or being attracted to anyone, going back to
a lot
past
of drugs.
lovers, drugs, chemsex, all sorts of things we try and fill that void with to try and make us feel like we're worthy and we're being loved. And I wonder if that's what he's seeking throughout the film, and he never finds it.
I think the beauty of this film is that it makes you kind of make interpretations based on your own experience, your own life experiences, right? I think it kind of just shows you, what he's going through, and you kind of have to make interpretations. And, you can talk about mental health issues, you can talk about, homophobia and all that, but the film doesn't sort of take a firm stance of what it is. And I think that's the right approach, because we are always sold a solution, like you can be fixed somehow really easy when you figure out what the thing is. And the more I got into the story, the more I was able to see that it kind of is sort of showing you with a lot of honesty what this person is going through. And if you want to believe there's an easy solution, then good for you. But maybe there isn't.
Em and Suzy, I've got a question for you. What did you think of the scene of George Michael's Careless Whisper being played from the car stereo and him sort of dancing around the pool naked, everything dangling?
It was a very there is no hidden nudity. It's all very we're getting full nudity. That's a full disclosure about this film.
I thought the performance for that bit was really great, because this is fairly early, and the camera sort of lingers on him for quite a while, and it just shows how great of an actor he was. Yeah. Like you don't see him breaking character, and he was playing awkwardness. He was playing also sort of a sense of trying to look for freedom that was sort of beyond him. I just love the performance, and I think it's those things that are so vulnerable that makes me feel like, even though his life experiences are very different from mine, I feel like I completely understand those feelings. And I think my own life, like I cover up these existential angst with things, projects or whatever, a lot of social media, and it sort of masks everything. But in this film, it kind of unmasked everything, and like he puts everything up on the surface, and it's not the way I live my life. I don't let these things come up on the surface like that, but they're really familiar things to me that he's expressing.
We're chatting about Wandering Heart, which is filming as part of the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. I wonder if this is just me, but was there a little bit of foreshadowing in the beginning of this film, because he's kind of helping his friend or, this person into a taxi, right? And that person is saying, I just want to be loved. I just want love. And he's the one that's kind of like helping this person into the taxi. And then all of a sudden it kind of is
he's
like
the one
full role reversed. Exactly.
The old man at the start says he's unable to receive love.
Yeah.
I think that was what it was.
Something like that, yeah.
I kind of paid a lot of attention when I saw it the second time. It just suddenly became really resonant. I think that's one of the themes, and I relate that to myself being single for a long time and single at the age of 49. And it makes me think like, actually I'm very similar to him. Like it doesn't bother me the way that it seems to bother him that much. But maybe that's one of the things that I share with the character.
And I love the fact that, we had a film about middle-aged gay men. I think that's fantastic, and it's part of the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. I liked it, Wandering Heart. But didn't you think that ultimately, though, his life was pretty good? Like, he's got a good job. He's got a good, despite the ups and downs, he's got a good relationship with his daughter. I mean, they fight and the next thing they're chasing each other and laughing around the lounge room. He's got that good relationship. He's got good friends. He's got a relationship with his mother. I mean, he's got staff that are loyal to him. He's got a good life, hasn't he? But he's just got this void that is missing, and it just shows how powerful it is when you can't fill it.
Yeah, I think it's so profound. It's so good that they show that he has a career. He has a almost grown daughter who's fantastic, but yet he's just got this, this something inside him. And I feel like, I think we all feel it to a certain extent. I think that's hopefully not many of us go through it as much as he does, but I think for all of us, we kind of experience that, a few minutes a week, maybe. And
few hours, I reckon.
And we know that those things cannot be filled with things. We sometimes fall ourselves into thinking, if I had a better paying job or whatever, if I had if my romantic relationship doesn't have these and those problems, I will be complete and I'll be perfect. But, especially when you come to the age of 50, you kind of know that, there were times when I had more money. There were times when, I had better relationships, but that feeling was always there.
Definitely. We are talking about Wandering Heart screening as part of the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. Em and Suzy, did you find that even though his life continued to spiral down, you could empathise with him rather than get frustrated and think, hey, for goodness sake, just get it together?
I don't know. It's interesting. I think that there was a point, I think, around about the dinner party that I spoke about earlier, where I was kind of like, come on. Come on. I understand. I totally understand, what's happening and I don't totally understand, but I'm trying to understand how you're feeling. But there were a couple of moments where I was like, come on.
I wonder if it's a cultural thing, I often talk about Europeans and Australians being, even though most of Australian culture comes from Europe, but I think there is a difference in the way over here, we are so good at sort of burying those feelings.
Yeah.
We're so good at sort of like denying those feelings. And then we look at them and we think that, they're really good at creating a lot of drama and maybe overly emphasizing those feelings. So there is this cultural, contrast that probably you're identifying. I enjoyed it. I think the performance of it made what would have been really annoying become really quite captivating. I looked up on IMDb. The actor has over 100 credits. Obviously we are in a different language speaking culture, so we don't know him very well. So he's an extremely experienced and talented actor. And you know what? The director, I thought it was such a sophisticated film. It's only his second feature. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's done a great job. Absolutely. And I would say too, it's a real true roller coaster of a film, isn't it? I mean, you're up, he's going up and then he's going down and up and down right until the very, very end, from the beginning to the end.
Yeah. And I love that it's never boring. It's never dull.
No.
Even though your mind just kind of can't settle because he's on this roller coaster. Like your emotions are not following a normal Hollywood, narrative. That the plot is different. So I think your mood does feel really unsettled because you're not on a normal, usual, movie journey. But it's always captivating.
I wonder if it was just me, but I did find that a few times there were some elongated stares, which I was like, I get what we're feeling now and we can move on.
Yeah.
Is that too brutal to say?
And some walking as well.
Yeah, there was like a really long walking scene where I was like, okay, we know that he's walking.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need 35 seconds of that.
See, I was watching his face during the walking and the expressions, and I was thinking the same. I thought, it's a really long walk down the street. And because we had spoken about it as well. But then I watched his face and he just does a great job of expressing the pain that he's going through in that period of 35 seconds of walking.
Totally. But it was a long walk.
I think it gives the viewer a lot of time for reflection. I think there are moments there where you're able to sort of take a break and kind of gather yourself a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I'm making excuses for it, but I just love that film so much. And I was really surprised, at how much I ended up loving it because it is such a sort of tumultuous experience.
Suzy, what's our homework for next week?
We're staying with the Melbourne Queer Film Festival, but this time looking at Chrissy Judy, about a much younger but still chaotic generation of gay men, this time in New York City. It screens 11th, 17th and 19th of November. Get your tickets at mqff.com.au. It's called Chrissy Judy. And my favorite characters, queer characters.
Yes. We must know.
Okay. I love Anna Madrigal from Tales of the City, but you know the one from The Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm thinking of?
No.
Ursula.
Oh. I can get around that.
And Suzy, you know who mine are, don't you? You can predict them.
Yeah, I know yours because the previous year in 2020, your favorite show was Pose and we talked about Electra. It was fantastic.
Loved Electra.
And last year we loved Veneno from Spain.
Yes, which we can still catch, can't we?
Yeah, I think... last I know it was an ABC. Hopefully it's still there. And, a very, special mention also to this year's Lestat, in, Interview with the Vampire. I just love Lestat and I think it's going to be a memorable one for me, in the future.
Suzy, good to chat with you as always.
Thank you. And I'll see you next Tuesday.
Joy Drive on Joy 94.9 FM in Melbourne, Joy on your digital radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn.com or the Joy app. No matter where you are, you can always take Em and Warren with you.